team, we're going to crumble. Inch by inch, play by play, till we're finished. We're in hell right now, gentlemen. Believe me. And we can stay here, get the shit kicked out of us, or we can fight our way back into the light. We can climb out of hell. 1 inch at a time. You know, when you get old in life, things get taken from you. I mean, that's part of life. But you only learn that when you start losing stuff. You find out life's this game of inches. So is football. Because in either game, life or football, the margin for error is so small. I mean, 1/2 a step too late or too early, and you don't quite make it. 1/2 second too slow, too fast, you don't quite catch it. The inches we need are everywhere around us. Hell yeah. They're in every break of the game, every minute, every second. On this team, we fight for that inch. On this team, we tear ourselves and everyone else around us to pieces for that inch. We claw with our fingernails for that inch. Because we know when we add up all those inches, that's gonna make the fucking difference between winning and losing. Between living and dying. I'll tell you this, in any fight, it's the guy who's willing to die who's going to win that inch. And I know if I'm going to have any life anymore, it's because I'm still willing to fight and die for that inch. Because that's what living is. The 6 inches in front of your face. Now, I can't make you do it. You got to look at the guy next to you. Look into his eyes. Now, I think you're going to see a guy who will go that inch with you. You're going to see a guy who will sacrifice himself for this team because he knows when it comes down to it, you're going to do the same for him. That's the team, gentlemen. And either we heal now as a team, or we will die as individuals.
Yes, we will. Couldn't have said it better myself. Welcome to the show, guys. I'm your host, Popeye from FederalJack.com. This is Down the Rabbit Hole. And today, I have a very, very special show lined up for you guys. I have 2 very, very, very special guests coming on. The first hour, I'm going to be joined not only by my co-host, JJ, who is always hanging out with me, but I'm going to be joined by one of the most awesome activists you guys will ever meet. He's a radio show host himself. He's got a very impressive background. He's been hosting radio shows since he was like 15 years old. Okay, that's impressive in itself.
Nice.
And he's an all-around great guy. His name's Bob Tuskin. And in the second hour, we're going to be joined by Gary Franchi from RTR. He's made Camp FEMA 2. So stick around. The show is going to be great today. But without further ado, I want to introduce you guys to the man himself, Bob Tuskin. Take a bow.
Hey, thanks so much, Popeye. No, you're too kind. I'm a big fan of Federal Jack and all that you do. And when I saw your attempt at the city commission meetings, I said, this guy gets it. This is what it's all about. We need to get in front of our commissioners, in front of the local channels, and get the word out, whether it's on fluoride, 9/11, you name it. We have to demand chemtrails has been a big one. We met with the local EPA officials here, and I urge everyone to meet with their local EPA officials.
What was their response to you, Bob?
Well, it was interesting because
I'm going to Skype call them. My show's on Sunday, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to call them on my Skype account and record them. Obviously, you got to tell them you're recording, right? So who knows if the interview will just end right there, but yeah. And I've been noticing that they've been flying lower and lower and lower. I don't know. Anyways, yeah, what was the response? Sorry to interrupt you.
No, not a problem. Well, what happened was we actually set up a hearing with them and met with the local EPA officials. Every county around the country has its own board of EPA officials.
Right.
And we were referred to them by the county, actually, after going to the county meetings. In addition to being able to speak at the city commission meetings, usually you have an opportunity to speak at your county meetings as well. So the county referred us to the EPA board here locally. We sat down with them. We presented our information. They actually heard us out, asked questions. All of that was recorded and we put up at our YouTube channel, all linked up to bobtuskin.com. That's Tuskin. And we sat down with them. They gave us some recommendations. We talked about, establishing more tests and what tests they had. And we followed up with them, and no real breakthroughs as of right now, but we're still hoping to work with them. And at the very least, we hope to be an example to other people around the country to do the same thing. Because if everyone was doing this on a grassroots level, we might see some change. Now, we have to realize that the chemtrail aerosol operation is compartmentalized, and it's on a need-to-know basis.
But I can tell you it's nationwide.
Every local EPA official, though, is not in on the deal.
Yeah, no, you're right, absolutely. But I just went across the country, and let me tell you something, Mr. Tuskin, I saw aerosol spraying in every state.
Oh, yeah, and in different countries as well.
And back.
Yeah, it's international. This operation is something that is poisoning us worldwide. And we have to ask ourselves.
Silver oxide. It's, that's what they, I mean, that would be one legitimate if they were, seeding clouds. But, you both know as well as I do that they've been finding aluminum and barium in it, in the groundwater and virgin waters. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the best way to establish that evidence is by taking a sterilized jar and collecting the water yourself. You don't believe what we're saying? Verify the test yourself, and your local EPA, like ours, will expect that. They want to verify this to make it relevant to them. And if that's what they need, well, then by all means, let's give it to them. Let's establish the science behind it. And it's already out there. People like Rosalind Peterson, Clifford Carnicom.
You want to get a couple of pebbles. You get right there in the water, and you just get a sample from the bottom, right? Because that's where everything that's where all the sediment drops to. Yeah,
but the best way to do it is rainwater and collect the rainwater with a sterilized jar. So, and you want to do it after they spray heavily. And you'll notice that the spraying often parallels with a heavy rain. So, it's very common.
Tornadoes in upstate New York last week, which is...
You had tornadoes as well, wow.
Which is uncommon to say the least.
Yeah, there's all sorts of reports about HAARP being involved with that.
Well, New York State is very mountainy area, so for you guys to have tornadoes is very odd because the mountains themselves, the drafts that come up and over the mountains and everything, that hampers a lot of tornado forming. And, a lot of people who don't understand, mountains really block the formation of tornadoes. I'm not saying they can't happen, but it's an oddity when it happens in a mountainous
Especially
area.
Where I live in central New York, right in the center of the state.
It's just odd. And I grew up in the Northeast, so I understand. And Bob, actually, you've been up north, correct? You from New York originally?
my family's all from New York, and a lot of my relatives are still up there. So I lived there for a time, and it's a beautiful state. People forget,
8,000 lakes, rivers, and streams.
Oh my goodness, it's beautiful. It's got so many different wildlife preserves and beautiful areas. The Catskills are beautiful.
I saw a bald eagle in my yard, not in my yard, but from my yard, just the other day.
And then JJ shot it and ate it.
Oh no! That's highly illegal.
I know that.
They're going to raid your house for that comment.
They'd come there quicker than...
We're going to be at your door tomorrow because I said that.
Are you kidding me? That'd be just my luck, too.
Well, see, Federal Jack, and you wonder why they come after you, man.
And the preserve where they actually, because they were so endangered up here, but at Montezuma, if you live anywhere near there, it's actually illegal for you to even cut your own trees down. You got to get permission. You have to go to the town board and get permission.
To Agenda 21, and that's just going to be happening. Dude, all this, the whole thing, I just put up a video Lauren Murray. I think Bob. I think you know who she is. She's part of the. She was on Ventura's show. She talked about during the water episode she was on. She was the one that told about the Chinese taking the aquifer, the freshwater aquifers, and they're taking it with huge bladders over to China.
Nationally, they just signed, and there was a big to-do about it, but in the media, nothing. The Great Lakes St. Lawrence Seaway Water Resource Compact, which essentially are UN rules and regulations, and there goes the rights to our own water. You know what I'm saying? You guys should Google that.
And water is what it's all about, really. I mean, we could talk about oil and all these other things, but the fact is that we can't live without water.
Bob had an interesting conversation a couple weeks ago about Libya, and I actually, I believe that you even called in Coast to Coast questioning some stuff about Libya and Iraq and everything else. But during Welcome back, guys. Sorry about going right into break. We didn't even realize that the bumper music was a little low, and we were having such a great. Well, yeah, I didn't hear it come in, so it's my fault. But we were having such an enthralling conversation with Bob Tuskin that you didn't really miss much. It's okay. We picked it up as soon as we heard the commercials, and we stopped talking. So we're back. Sorry, my mistake. I know, rookie mistake, whatever. Anyway, Bob, tell the people a little bit about yourself, like why you got involved, what woke you up, and the things that you're doing right now.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Popeye. What got me involved, what woke me up, 9/11, of course, was a big thing for all of us. And to realize that we were lied to about the largest crime in our lifetimes, one of the most significant events in our lifetime, what else could we be lied about, rather? So you got to ask yourself, what's really going on here? And through that, you can go down the rabbit hole and keep going down and keeping an open mind and critical thinking. I've been listening to talk radio and alternative media since I was 10 years old. I used to listen to Coast AM nightly as a kid, and I would tune in every single night and stay up late. And, of course, my school and whatnot suffered because of that, but I certainly did get an alternative education rather than the indoctrination that most children face these days, and that's a whole different show.
Good for you.
Yeah, thanks. But the bottom line is, there's no one issue that I like to pigeonhole myself with. And once you have woken up to, these various larger issues like 9/11 and whatnot, you realize that the list never stops. And to limit yourself is just, selling yourself short. So we have to, be an expert on a lot of different topics. And that's why I host a radio show, so that I can interview different people that are a heck of a lot smarter than I am on a various, different amount of topics. So the radio show is a big thing that I do. The second hour is picked up on the network here. And I'm thankful for that opportunity to get the word out and to continue the learning process, which that basically is all what my radio show is. It's just my learning process that I'm sharing with you, and it's an excuse to interview all sorts of great guests. I've interviewed many different guests now, and I realized that there is no shortage of guests and information to look at. So don't sell yourself short, folks. Don't become too one-sided. Don't become, only a Zionist guy, or only a chemtrail guy, or only a fluoride guy. All of these things are important to expose and to look at.
Well, just to look at least, right?
Well, at least, there's an Aristotle quote that I often use that goes something like this, that it's the art of a good thinker to entertain a thought without accepting it. And that's what we need to do. We need to be agnostic with our thinking. We can't be closed-minded, and as much as we have to keep an open mind, we don't want it to be too open, because then it's a programmable mind. So it's essential that we have the proper skills of critical thinking and logic and whatnot. And that's been something I've been focusing a lot of my time on, is looking at the skills of the trivium, which is grammar, logic, and rhetoric. And it's essential a tool to look through all the lies and to, not get caught up in the logical fallacies, the ad hominem fallacies, you name it. The list goes on, because that's what the mainstream media does. They know that people don't have the constructive, critical thinking to see through the lies, and that's how they're able to brainwash so many people.
Right, or the confidence to even trust their own conclusions. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people might not think, they might not think if they did 100 hours of research that it means anything, that they came to a different conclusion than NIST or, the 9/11 Commission. But I'm here to tell you that, it doesn't matter what your background is. It doesn't matter how far you went through school. Your conclusions are valid if you've put in some of the research.
Exactly. It doesn't look. I've had people tell me, "I'll bet you don't have a university degree." No, you know what? I don't, because I didn't pay $25,000 a year to go get indoctrinated into someone else's BS.
Popeye, that right there, though, is an appeal to authority fallacy.
Yeah.
Because the information unto itself has nothing to do with the messenger. Okay, so
exactly.
To shoot the messenger is ridiculous.
Yeah. Exactly. It's like, don't attack. It's like what they. I mean, I personally think WikiLeaks is a CIA / Mossad, intelligence front. But I have people that disagree with my opinion on that. But allegedly, whatever. The point is, look how they treat Assange. Rather than look at the information, stuff like DynCorp trafficking little boys over for sex parties with Afghan police.
You get laughed at if you talk about that. Like, that's like,
but
it's
instead
not
of focusing on that, they focus on Assange leaking it.
Yeah.
Like, what? Who cares about it?
And the public relations
smuggling little kids for sex parties. That's disgusting.
That was their main concern, was the public relations. That the information and the diplomatic relations.
It's PR. It's all CYA. They want to cover their butts.
Mm-hmm.
And they dismiss. It's funny because they have, again, Pavlovian response. People are like, "Oh, conspiracy theory." Ha 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 ha. They laugh at any time you bring that up. It's a very programmed response. But if look at the people Bob has on his show. In fact, some of the guests that
he's got a great show. I listened to
exactly
it for almost a month now or so.
I have to be honest. I'll give him credit because of Bob. Bob introduced me to a few people that that I knew, but I didn't have contact with them, and now I'll be able to, they're going to be able to come on my show and give out information. So you guys, a lot of people have Bob Tuskin to thank, so pay attention.
Well, information should be open source. There's no sense in hoarding guests or contacts like other individuals.
Charging for archives. I hate that.
That's why we link. That's why we're all but Bob and I are part of a greater effort to kind of link all these grassroots organizations together and bridge all these gaps, so that rather having all these little satellites speaking, blah 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 blah, we can not only work in unison as well as working separately, but we'll have that gap bridged so that we all
have our own little crews too, not crews, but our own little groups of people that.
Well, look, the information needs to get out. The only way we're going to win is if
it spreads that way.
That's why I have the opening of my show, the Al Pacino speech. That's why it's there. That's why I edited it together so that you can, I hope it inspires people. That's why people need to come together as a unit, and work together instead of,
don't be afraid to get pushed, because, if you're not getting pushed around a little bit, then.
Look, you're not doing something right if you're not getting any flack, okay? Like, any bombardier will tell you, you get the most flack when you're over target. So if you're getting people making fun of you and laughing at you and stuff, you're doing something right. Don't feel bad if someone picks on you because you're giving them information and they say, "Oh, ha ha ha, you're crazy." You should feel empathy for that person because they're so brainwashed that they can't comprehend anything that they're not told by the mainstream media. Now that's pathetic. You're not pathetic for going, "Hey, we're on a train and the train's going off a cliff." They're pathetic for going, "Oh, I don't see any problem. What's the big deal?" That's pathetic, at least in my opinion. That's how I view it. And that's why I do what I do. We're on a train. I see us going off the cliff. And if we don't do something about it, I'm going to bail off the train no matter what. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to go off the cliff with the train. I'm trying to take as many people with me and save as many lives and educate and wake as many people up. And just maybe if we wake up enough people, maybe we can stop the train from going off the cliff. You know what I'm saying? That's my goal, is to stop the train altogether, because I don't want anybody to go off the cliff. But the conductor seems to be psychotic, and he likes the Rothschild family, and he just wants to put it full bore. You know, he's getting his orders from the Vatican, and they're going full bore. So,
well, to continue the analogy of the train.
Oh, you know what? Hold on, guys. We're going to break. Guys, we'll be right back. We're going to go pay some bills. When we come back, I'm going to have Bob Tuskin pick up right where he was about to pick up, and we'll be right back.
I will die, succeed, live in the struggle. I know I'm alive when I bleed. From now on, it can never be the same as before, cause the place that I'm from doesn't exist anymore. This is the point of no return.
Welcome back to the show. This is Down the Rabbit Hole. I'm your host, Popeye, federaljack.com. And today in the first hour, I'm joined by Bob Tuskin, the man, the legend himself. Bob. Yeah. Well, you got a show on Oracle. What time's the show? Tell people what time your show is, and what the topics you discuss and everything else.
Cool. Yeah, it's 8 to 10 East Coast time. That's 8 to 10 p.m. East Coast time. It's also on the O'Brien Radio Network for the second hour of the program. So check it out on Micro 1650 AM for the second hour as well. And we cover different topics every night, really. I don't like to pigeonhole myself, as I said, too much. I'm very interested in health and, this pharmaceutical industrial complex that is poisoning us, preventing people from being able to think straight in order to become aware of just how deep this satanic New World Order is. So I cover that topic a lot on the show. It comes up quite a bit. On Monday's show, we'll be talking with a friend of mine and longtime health activist and researcher Liam Sheff. We also talk about just about you name it. We'll go into survival and preparedness. That's a topic that continues to come up as an extremely important topic. As you know, I am an organic gardener. And very much interested in trying to get prepared so that not just for myself and my family, but for my neighbors as well.
And because you can't wait to the last minute to learn how to do these kind of things.
Oh, if you think you're going to be able to wake up one day, JJ, and say, oh, all of a sudden I'm going to wake up because I can't go to the store, I got to go to a FEMA camp or martial law, sort of deal with our grocery stores, which will happen at some point. They'll be rationing out food. If you don't want to put up with that, folks, you better start learning now because you're not just going to be able to wake up. This takes a little bit of experience.
It's like JJ said, waiting till the learning curve is death or learning is not the time to do it. You want to be prepared by that.
You want to be able to fail a few times.
Well, you're going to.
You've got to learn your lessons.
Give yourself room to fumble and make a mistake.
There's lessons that only experience can teach you.
Exactly.
You're going to fail, yeah. But at that same token, baby steps, folks, because Absolutely. It is a bit overwhelming.
A little bit each year, or a little bit,
Yeah, I don't want you to take too much on. Get in the habit. Start getting some of the basic skills down, and you'll learn and build upon that. And our show likes to do that. I got off the grid for a while, as I was telling you, Popeye. I moved to Mexico in the middle of nowhere. And lived on the land essentially with several fruit trees that we planted. We planted about 40 fruit trees. Our water supply came from an aquifer from the mountains there. It was absolutely beautiful, out of the scenes of a movie. But at some point, I felt very selfish. Here I am wasting away in paradise essentially. Knowing that the rest of the world, my family, my friends, my neighbors, the people that I was working with the radio show, everyone else essentially is headed to complete chaos, and that how selfish is it of me? It's being no different in a sense than the elite that are building these underground bunkers with their botanical gardens. Okay, if I don't want to be as evil as they are, then I need to get back and do something. And at some point, I hope to have an internet connection with a similar type situation. But at that time, I could not afford nor establish an internet connection where I was. So it was more important for me to come back and continue the show and the activism And since then, I'm glad I did come back because I've confronted so many douchebags. Part of my candidness.
You can say douchebag, by the way.
Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah.
That's one of our favorite words here.
It is, dude.
Douchebag and jerk off are two of my favorite adjectives,
I know it's not
verbs.
It's probably not the best way to say
And
it.
listen, Bob, here's something else that you always got to keep in mind is, and I know you do, is, look, people talk about, well, you should just pack your stuff up and get out of there. Look, it's too late, man, because there's too many people, not just my family, but friends and other people that are counting on me. This is where I'm at. This is where I make my stand locally. I mean, that's all I can say is
well, you have to. Where are you going to run to eventually? If you keep running, where are you going to go? What country are you going to go to? No other country on the planet has our freedoms to protect ourselves like we do.
It's Popeye. It's not known as the New World Order for nothing.
Exactly. Like, where are you going to go? People tell me I'm going to leave the United States, and I'm like, where are you going to go? What other country can you go to? At least here in the States, we still have the Second Amendment right now. If you go to other countries, you can't even defend yourself.
Sometimes, allegedly.
Dude, I love Holland, okay? My mother was born in Holland. I've been to the country twice. I love it. It's an awesome country. But one of the things that's really retarded about the country is you can't defend yourself there. I asked a cop when I was there, I said, hey, what are your laws and stuff here? I know you guys don't carry guns, or the people can't carry guns, but what are the laws for defending yourself? And they said you're not allowed to. If you swing back, you'll get arrested too and charged with the same, crime of fighting and assault or whatever. I said, so what are you supposed to do? And they say you're supposed to call the police. So they literally want you to just turn into a little ball and get beat up. And that's because
coming here too quick.
Well, yeah, but see, and I'm not making fun of anybody in Holland. That is a result of them, the police and their society having weapons taken away from them and then being, as John Preston would call it, pussified. And they're like their feeling towards self-defense is completely different than ours. It's amazing.
True. Well, even right now, I can tell you this: if there's somebody in your house killing you and your wife and your family, and there might be if there was 5 cops outside your door, if you think they're going to kick like Kojak, kick your door in and go room to room, and they'll stand outside the house until you're all murdered and then order them out or have a big standoff. But they're not coming in there to save you, so you better learn how to save yourself at least.
Another thing,
be willing to.
There's another drastic difference.
Have that willingness.
If you watch the Charlie Veach video where Charlie Veach gets arrested, watch how the British cops arrest Charlie Veach and think about how the American cops would have handled it. The cop comes in and he's like, may I? First they asked if they can come in. Charlie says no, and he says, well, I'm going to have to place you under arrest. Now, by law I can come in. But he wasn't. I mean, the cop was doing his job, but he was almost like very robotic and very methodic about it. But at the same time, he let Charlie brush his teeth, go to the bathroom.
I know, but that was just as scary in a sense. That
it was very New World Order 1984.
Very much.
He was leaving. There was no way. Even if he didn't brush his teeth, he was going to stay home.
Oh, no, you were going to take the ride. It was very creepy, but can you imagine how the American cops would have handled it?
The Bobby, as they call him, even said the word draconian.
Oh, he said not yet. Did you see that? Did you catch the 1984 doublespeak, Bob? He goes, not to be draconian, but.
Yes, absolutely.
when they add the but, be prepared, okay? Or as we
for them to become draconian.
As we say in the military, bohica, which stands for bend over, here it comes again. Okay.
Nice.
So whenever you hear them say, I don't mean to, but they're going to do what they just said they didn't want to do. You're about to get that and experience it. And Tuskin's right. It was very Orwellian and creepy because as polite as they were, it was very matter of fact. It was
a foregone conclusion.
It's a political arrest, and to Charlie's girlfriend's credit, she kept pressing the cops and saying, "Hey, how does this make you feel?" Yes, she did. How does this make you feel? How does this make you feel? And the cop was like, "Well, it's my job."
Yeah, and that's the response we get a lot of times.
Just following orders. See, Kyle.
But unfortunately, yes, and I hate to use that example because the Holocaust example is
of course, but you need only look at the Germans to see exactly what following orders gets you. Ignorance is bliss, and that's.
You even have to use that. You can use other examples. I mean, look what Look what we did to the Chinese in this country. We rounded them up, put them in concentration camps, and some of them were shot. Or excuse me, not the Chinese, the Japanese. My bad.
All I'm saying is following orders doesn't
Germans
cut
and
it.
Italians too, and there were American citizens that were shot and killed simply for just getting too close to the fence. But hey, we were just following orders, right?
Yeah.
Well, there comes a time where we have to stand up and say to ourselves, does this fulfill one of God's laws? Is this a natural law?
Well, I could tell you something right now, Bob. If every inmate in America right now, every single one all together got up and stormed the gates, there's nothing they could do. They're all free. I mean, it just won't happen. But,
Well, our prison population is creepy. We have, what is it? We have 25% of the world's, 25% of the world's criminals are in the United States alone. All right, guys, we're going to break. We'll be right back. We're going to pay the bills. When we come back, you're going to hear more from Bob Tuskin. And if he wants to, I invite Bob to hang out for the second hour when Gary comes on. We'll find out when we come back from break if Bob can hang out or not.
What's your angle? Are you a devil or an angel? And I say both, as I continue to blame the Knights Templar and the Hospitallers, the real reason New York lost their towers. Don't sit back or hesitate to react to the impact. Many taking a nap. In fact, they would fake an attack to make way for the Patriots.
Welcome back to the show. All right, guys, I have to put some rumors to rest. I have to tell the truth. Bob Tuskin does have multiple personality disorder, okay? And he is a mind control slave. He's got an alter ego that goes by the name of Bob Tusk. And I believe actually Bob is here with us. Bob, are you here?
Yes, this is Bob Tusk, and I'm glad that you have me on the show to finally talk about how we are trying to kill you. You are nothing but Goyim, and the wedding, well, that was just a celebration of what's to come.
Yes, and I wanted to let people know that the rumors are true, that because both of us come from a Jewish background, that we're both evil. So I just wanted to, we both work for the Rothschild family.
Why do you think we wear the yarmulkes?
Exactly. So I just wanted to get it out in the open. Yes, we are Illuminati, we are evil, and I wanted to bring Bob Tusk on the show to show you that, yes, Bob Tuskin is actually a puppet of Bob Tusk, the real evil entity. So, yes. I hope that puts all the rumors to rest.
Yeah, that sounded so real. I mean, I'm convinced.
Hey, Popeye, will you do me a favor and not have him on again? He just follows me and is just such a pain.
I know.
Jeez.
He's a psycho. He's a stalker. That's what happens when you have an alter ego that works for the New World Order.
He's been calling up all these radio shows lately, claiming to be a whistleblower. It's been really bad. Jeez.
Yes. Okay. We joke. We fool around sometimes.
We have to stop with the inside jokes because the listeners are tuned in to hear about how we're going to inspire the revolution. They don't know.
Yeah. Here we are joking, but you know what? Sometimes we need to inject a little humor to make them laugh, because if we were all doom and gloom, then. We'd be like every other radio show host, and they'd probably want to go shoot themselves in the head at the end of the day, because we'd just be filling their head with negative programming. But
that's true.
Well, it is what it is.
Well, you know what? Sometimes it's good to have a little humor.
We've had some really good shows that we put out a lot of information. 90% of our shows are just strictly content.
And that's why I'm bringing more and more guests on. But again, I got to thank Bob for helping me be able to get some quality guests on, not have people call up and want to talk about like going and working out or, their teeth or anything like that. I have actual guests on, so it's
Who
nice.
might that be?
I'm just playing. Everybody knows who I'm talking about.
Oh.
I won't out him on the show. I won't say anything on the air. I'm just playing.
No problem. No, we get some great calls on our show from time to time. And, it's great to interact with people out there, because we all feel kind of alone in the so-called truth movement, because we don't see a lot of people around us in our daily lives a lot of the time that are into this stuff to the extent that we are, at least. I have some friends that are scratching the surface, but...
Well, you know what, Bob? Here's the deal. I don't care, and it's all I talk about. Now, because I anytime anybody says anything to me, you know what? I just don't care at this point. I do not present myself as though I have a bullhorn and I'm a Jehovah's Witness. But what I do is I don't pull any punches anymore in any conversation with anybody. When any subject comes up, I tell them what I know, sort of. You know what I mean? I don't play along like, oh, I'm going to be politically correct a little bit. I just say, you know what? Mm-hmm. This is it. This is how it is, really.
See, that's kind of my personality, JJ. I've always been like that. And that's why, my parents thought I was a pain in the butt probably as I was growing up. Because, if my parents gave me some line of bull, I called them out on it. I love them to death. But that unconditional love is one in which I think needs to be honest with reality. And, now I talk to my parents, and they might not be on the same level that I am, but I at least can explain to them what's going on. And that's the toughest thing, I think, is trying to get out there and not create too much of a dichotomy between us and still at the same time not be silent, not be complicit in the madness.
Right, and just don't ever go along with, what they're selling on the mainstream. Somebody telling you, well, the price of oil is strictly because we invaded Libya. Tell them, no, the price of oil is because the Federal Reserve prints trillions of freaking dollars and that puts it into circulation, and because of the way that there's all kinds of derivatives out there in the world. This is the reason that gas is going to be $5 a gallon. They just use Libya as an excuse.
Well, it's not even that. It's not even that. It's speculation. I mean, we're not
absolutely.
We don't get any oil from Libya. It's just people going, hey, gas might go up to this, so they just raise the prices.
Hey,
but tell them why.
May I speculate for a moment? Here's my speculation.
Yeah, throw out your speculation there, Bob Tuskin.
Here's Bob Tuskin's gas oil speculation. It's all crap. It's all a fraud. Yeah. We have had alternative energies, technologies, free energy, Tesla, you name it, the list goes on and on. It's all a fraud. It's all mind control. It's all BS, and we need to move beyond it.
I agree.
Well, I think they turned off the power at the studio.
Hey, Bob, I got it. No, I was reading a question for a second from one of the people in the chat room. They want to know.
What do they want?
They want me to ask you about Trivium and if you have links for it.
Yeah, triviumeducation.com. That's the best site. My buddy Jan Irvin with Gnostic Media Podcast does a wonderful job. I'm doing interviews on a regular basis with a guy by the name of Gene O'Denning, and he's the guy that tutors me.
Go ahead and give it another shout out one more time.
Sure. triviumeducation.com. And I'm glad they asked, because that's something everyone needs to follow up on.
It was my fault. Saul was asking. He's a fellow host here on the Orion Radio Network, and he was asking. Yeah, and I was doing multiple things, and I noticed he asked, and I kept forgetting to ask you. So
no problem.
He was yelling at me in the chat room to ask.
He did it on purpose, Saul.
Yeah, I wasn't ignoring you, Saul. Today I have a very short attention span because I'm doing like 18 things at once while I'm hosting the show. So,
yeah, well, that's what it's all about, though. They don't want you to know what's really going on or to know how to learn what's really going on. And they teach this amongst their schools. They're teaching this amongst the elite. This is taught. This classical education is what it's known as, is taught in these elite fraternities and elite schools and the Rhodes Scholar programs and whatnot. So they are making use of these skills. And they know that we're too dumb, us the useless eater goyim, to see through this stuff. So, of course, they're going to be able to manipulate us with their propaganda campaigns. Of course, they're going to be able to manipulate us and get us for a war effort because of a false flag terrorist attack.
What's your theory on MK Ultra mind control, like Project Monarch, Bob?
Great question. My theory on it, there's clear evidence that people have been involved with these programs, and it happens here locally to a certain extent in my area. I've met people involved locally here that were abused. I've known many victims of this multi-generational trauma-based mind control abuse, and I can't imagine that all of these people are just making this up. There's too much evidence that shows, regardless if their stories are legitimate or not, people like Kathy O'Brien, Aaron McCollum, and so many others we have to take a look at the fact that there is such a thing as physical trauma that creates a schism in the brain, which creates a barrier that allows for these people to develop these multiple personalities so that they don't know when they're the other person or not. And it's an awesome tool for the powers that shouldn't be to keep secrets. If you think about it, what better tool what better spy or secret keeper than somebody who's totally brainwashed and almost suffering from amnesia every time they change personalities. It's complete amnesia, and they, in Kathy O'Brien's case, which I know, Popeye, you've been reading her book recently, and I've studied her stuff going way back now. It's been like 5 years or so, and with her case, it's interesting because they didn't care if she drank alcohol or did coke or whatever. She was able to do anything she wanted on that note. But the one thing they wouldn't allow her to make use of was cannabis.
Yeah, I know. I made mention of that to you the other day. That's why we said it was amazing how the one thing that was forbidden for any of these mind control slaves was marijuana. In any form, whether it be, the THC, just a liquid, or smoking it, they didn't. But they would give them what back then they called them Wonderland wafers.
Everything.
Well, Wonderland wafers were ecstasy, and that's what they called them back in the 80s. And they would give them that, coke, heroin, everything else. But pot, as Bob said, was completely forbidden. You weren't allowed to touch it. So it kind of makes you wonder why they're so against medical marijuana and everything else, because. Sure. It's healthy. It helps your body, and I can tell you what, it promotes clear thinking and an open mind.
Well, Rick Simpson's work is great with
Ricky Simpson.
Cancer.
Oh, the hemp oil guy. Yeah, he's. In fact, Bob, you know a lot. Shout out a link for him if you know anything for Rick Simpson. Throw out whatever you know.
Free Rick Simpson. Google Free Rick Simpson. Check that out. Yeah. There's plenty of documentaries. This is just.
He's in jail now, right?
Yeah, well, I don't think he's in jail. He's in exile, is what it is.
Oh, is he? Because I know he's got a warrant.
Sure, he is in exile. They are looking for him.
What a shame, man.
It's a shame, right? Because, again...
His movie will make you cry. I encourage everyone. Run from the Cure, the Ricky Simpson story.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry,
good stuff. Not a problem.
Yeah.
This is
what
it's all about.
And compelling.
It's about trying to suppress alternative health cures and so much more. We'll talk about that, I'm sure, next hour at some point with Gary Franchi, and I'm looking forward to that coming up on Down the Rabbit Hole with your host, Popeye.
Look at that, Bob bringing me out into break. Gotta love it. Guys, we'll be back in a few minutes. We're going to go pay some bills. When we come back, we're going to be on the line with Bob, JJink, and Gary Franchi. Stay tuned.
They killed my entire family, murdered and tortured, raped and pillaged. I was only 5 and I was the only surviving witness. My entire village burned to the ground. He wore a serpent in his crown. Happily committed murder with a frown and an army of black hooded fiery skull generals and a sorcerer with a castle from which I can never return. And if I back down now, then forever I burn. This is the point from which I can never retreat. Cause if I turn back now, there can never be peace. This is the point from which I will die, succeed, live in the struggle. I know I'm alive when I bleed. From now on, it can never be the same as before. Cause the place that I'm from doesn't exist anymore. This is the point of no return, nigga. You better believe this. Mary Magdalene giving birth to the children of Jesus, the evolution of the
Welcome back, guys. This is Down the Rabbit Hole. I am your host, Popeye, from FederalJack.com. And before we went to break, I was talking with Bob Tuskin from BobTuskin.com, and he's got his own radio show on the Oracle Broadcasting Network called The Bob Tuskin Show. Go check it out, listen to it, and you'll learn a lot from him. Today, I'm riding shotgun, or actually I should say riding shotgun with me is my good friend, JJink. JJ, take a bow. Say hello.
Thank you very much.
How have things been going for you?
For me personally?
Well, with the tornado damage to the house, before we get into other stuff, I wanted you to be able. I know you told me that you did have some damage to your house or whatever. So.
Well, I had a tree fall and I live on a hill, actually, but in a tree, one of the trees in my backyard fell, just about took out my back deck, and then another one fell and landed right in the middle of my road. And last year, the town came by and raised the roadbed for me nicely right in front of my house, and then they created a channel that went right to my septic tank. So there was a river of water. It rained. They said it rained like something like 16 or 6 inches every 16 minutes for 45 minutes. I mean, we got like literally, I swear to God, there was it washed away all the covering over the, the manhole or over the storm drains were all exposed everywhere. There was ditches everywhere.
Now, again, we were talking about that's not normal, right?
No, that's not normal here.
So do you think that they were playing with, do you think they were maybe playing with
possibly
the weather a little bit? Perhaps.
Well, listen, I know this, and I've noticed this over the last month or so that the aerosol spraying is getting lower and lower.
It's been getting worse.
Well, and plus the planes are flying lower, and I don't know what that means. I don't really know. I can't prove what they're spraying.
Yeah, well, the only way we're going to find out is we need an international investigation. All right, guys. As promised, before we went to break, I was having a little Skype technical difficulty. That's why I was a little off topic there for a minute. We were trying to fix the Skype technical difficulty. And as promised, I have on the line none other than Gary Franchi from RTR. Gary, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
No problem. I want to give you guys as much exposure as I can. So please feel free. Tell the audience about RTR, what inspired you, your movies. Go ahead.
Well, you really opened the door for that. I've got, I don't know, man. There's so many irons in the fire. I don't know where to begin sometimes. Right now, I'm actually in the middle of an editing project for a breaking story that we're working on. Some police state thugs cracked down at some schools and maced, and SWAT team raided a bunch of students in a block party. Just insane police state activities. So I'm working on that. My head's really into it right now. And pardon me for a second as I collect myself. I've been staring at images of jackbooted thugs for the past couple hours. So
no, I know how it is, man. After a while, your brain just turns to mush after seeing all this police state thuggery. It gets you so irritated.
I don't know, man. I don't know what to do anymore. It's like I just keep seeing the abuses. I keep seeing abuses after abuse, and I'm like, I'm trying to do everything that I can in my power to give people the tools to organize. I'm trying to give people the videos to share. I'm trying to make documentaries to wake up people and organize screenings, and trying to put all these different tools in place so people can, if they don't want to go out in the street and protest or rally, then maybe they want to fax Congress, or maybe they want to, I don't know, man. I'm just trying to do everything that I can. Everything.
Well, I can tell you this, Gare. RTR is a great place to start. I got there via an Aaron Russo movie somehow. I made my way in 2008 to Restore the Republic. It was before it changed over, and I took a different route to where I am now. But it was the people I met in the chat room and associated with Restore the Republic that brought me where I am right now, which is hosting a show and having guests and doing all this research. So it's a great place to start because you're going to meet other people with a lot of
it's a good place to network. And Gary, that's why you invented RTR, right? Isn't that why you invented it as a social networking site?
Let me get back on topic here. The RTR.org website is the Patriots' alternative to Facebook. It can really be anything to anybody. It's just a matter of what you want it to be. For some, they just use it to promote whatever it is they're doing, whether it's their radio show or their blog or their whatever that may be, whatever their action may be. For somebody who has an organization, somebody like an Oath Keeper, like a Stuart Rhodes, or a Campaign for Liberty, or InfoWars, or We Are Change, or these types of groups,
good place
they
for
have
petition.
a presence. Yeah, they have a place on the website. So they'll create a group, and people will learn about what that group's activities are, because that group will then create an event. It'll go on the national calendar, and as you look at all the different events, you'll notice the upcoming events. So it's so wild. If you look at the events calendar, just the events calendar alone, not even the groups, but you can just see, like, dude, day after day after day, there is just something going on in some part of the country by some patriot organization or patriot-inspired group that it's just amazing to watch. So you can create events, you can create groups, and one of my favorite features, because we're going to be doing some group stuff as a national organization pretty soon, but one of my favorite features is the ability for me to use RTR as a central hub to promote whatever it is I'm promoting at the time. Even if it's just a stupid status update or a quote or just, something, a link or a video or something I find online. So what I like to do is my personal RTR account is connected to my Facebook account. It's connected to my Twitter account, my LinkedIn account, my Yahoo account, like all my different social networking websites, so that whenever I update my status, it publishes to all those locations. So a good example, like we're doing a live stream of the debate that's coming up on May 5th. Now, we're going to put the player on the website, and then people are going to be able to watch the debate in real time. So I created an event for that, and when I created that event, it said, Gary, would you like to publish this to your other social networks? And I said, sure. And then it automatically published that event to the other locations. And in the past couple days, I just revisit the event page or my profile page, and I just click share again on the event, and then it says, would you like to publish it again? So yes. So I can keep it, in the frontal lobe of the people who are browsing Facebook, browsing Twitter, and browsing the website, and we've got, 20-some-odd people who have now RSVP'd to the event.
So you don't have to keep going back and posting it on separate sites. You can just post it to RTR, and RTR does it for you.
Exactly. Yeah, that's
very convenient.
It's a tool.
Yeah, it's a good tool in the Patriot movement, and
listen, you hear a lot of good ideas there around there too.
Well, it's
people
good
post
for people
a lot of
to
intelligent things,
and it's a good way to wake up people that are like the Ron Paul group, but they don't really know about 9/11, or they're not sure if 9/11, if the whole 9/11 truth movement is for real or not. But they can check out links and stuff, and I could tell you, I've woken people up through RTR. It's a great resource to
RTR was how I got my feet wet, man.
Kudos
I really
to Gary
give it kudos.
Kudos to you for doing the reality report too, Gary. For those of you, Gary does a news report called the Reality Report every week, where he interviews tons and tons of people, all across the spectrum. And he brings to you things like every week he has an enemy of the state, and he shows how certain people have violated people's civil rights or the Constitution, or whatever the case may be for that week. Every week there's something new. Gary always seems to find something new to talk about each week. And Gary, how much time do you spend putting into the reality report?
The reality report, we generally do most of our pre-production work on Monday. Any interviews we may have with guests, we'll do on Monday.
You know what? Hang on to that thought, Gary. We're going to break. Hang on to that thought, and we'll pick up right where we left off. We come on the other side of this break. Stay tuned, guys. When we come back, you're going to hear Gary, Franchi, Bob Tuskin, myself, and JJink. Stay tuned.
It wasn't easy.
Welcome back. This is Down the Rabbit Hole. I'm your host, Popeye from FederalJack.com. Today I'm joined by my co-host, JJink, my good friend Bob Tuskin from BobTuskin.com, and none other than the legendary Gary Franchi himself. And before we went to break, Gary was discussing the reality report and the amount of time and effort and energy that he puts into producing it. So, Gary, go ahead and pick up where you left off.
We were talking over the break about the media, and you can't trust the media, and that's really why we put together the show, is because we don't trust the media. I'm putting together a report right now about police state tactics up here in Western Illinois, and the mainstream media news reports that are coming out are totally pro-state. All the kids deserved it. They deserve to be beat down and maced. Meanwhile, there's where's the other side of the story? Where's the due process that they're allowed? So, there's no message of that. So that's why we do these shows. We put out the reality report every week. Like I was saying, Monday is our pre-production day. Any day we do, anytime we have a guest or something of that nature, we'll try to do it on Monday, and then we'll do all the segmented extra stuff on Tuesday, and then we piece it all together, edit it, have all the finalized scripting and all that fun stuff, and video overlays and graphics and blah 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 and sound effects and all the bells and whistles, and we compile it and upload it on Tuesday night, and then it's kind of fun to watch when you see how you can sort of tell how a show's going to trend by midnight, because once we release the show, anywhere between 7 and 8 o'clock on a Tuesday, when YouTube's counter freezes at 3:02, you guys know what that is. It's like, okay, well, it looks like something's happening with this thing. It's getting enough hits that YouTube is freezing the counter. So it's always
that's
fun
when they
to
start
watch.
doing batch uploads, because they say that their live counter can't keep up with it.
Yeah, different times.
Yeah, I don't know how. It just seems kind of silly to me. It's but
I think it's BS. I think it's just another way of blocking the view counts, if you ask me. But
no, it's a very easy way they could block view counts on controversial topics. So then we released the show to the master email list on Wednesday morning, generally between 9 and 10 a.m. And then we ask everyone who's watching it, share it, because this is our method of doing battle. And sometimes it kind of stings. Like the last show we did, we put our heart and soul into these things, and we got 1,700 views. And I'm thinking to myself, so we're not going to save this country with 1,700 views, people. We're spending hundreds of dollars a show. We have a staff, we have electric, we have bills. I'm not even going to be able to make the rent this month, so I got to do another fundraiser just to keep that going. It's crazy. And then we got 1,700 views on a show. I'm like, are you kidding me? Come on, people.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes it kills you. I do the same. I experience the same thing when I make a video, and I'll spend 2 or 3 days editing a video together, and it's like really powerful, and I feel it's powerful, and when people watch it, they tell me it's powerful, but it only gets 2,000, 3,000 hits, and a lot of times that's YouTube. That's them and their algorithms blocking it, because I got to tell you, Gary. I know that you get discouraged by the number, but I know thousands of people watch the reality report and listen to you.
I do.
And I know everybody on this call. I know Bob Tuskin does. I know the guys at the Intel Hub know who you are. Oh, and by the way, I want to give a big before I forget, I want to give a big shout out and thank you to Alex from the Intel Hub for everything he's doing for the Orion Radio Network and this radio show. I appreciate it. He knows what I'm talking about. Thank you, Alex. You're a good guy.
Yeah, cool stuff. We're happy to do it on behalf of the Intel Hub. I want to thank you, Popeye, and Gary Franchi, and everyone at the network for doing what you guys are doing. And it's funny, on the other end of the spectrum, though, I'll do a video that I really don't like, one of these confrontations or something, and it's not something I put my heart and soul into, and it will get thousands and thousands of hits. But something that I spent like the presentation, a lot of time on, like the presentation I gave at the Free Your Mind conference or something like that, it's only got a couple thousand hits. And it's funny to me how that works. You can put a video on of a cat drinking milk, and it will get several million hits, but something so much more important will suffer. And that's just kind of a sign of the times in many respects.
Yeah, I think it's symptomatic, without question, that you guys have all seen that video where that cat's spinning around on the fan and it hits the wall. I mean that's my favorite video on YouTube by far. But,
yeah, and it's got like a bazillion hits, and then the stuff that like Camp FEMA. Gary's got his whole movie. One of his movies is for, out of the 2 Camp FEMA series, he's got the first one up for free to watch on the internet. And it's probably, I know it's got a couple thousand hits, probably got like 16 or 17,000 hits by now at least. But like that thing should have 1 million hits. It should have 2 million hits.
The interesting thing about that, because the authorized version is on my YouTube channel and on my Blip channel. But then there's all the other unauthorized uploads that are out there. I mean, collectively, that movie has been seen by so many people.
Oh, yeah. I used to have it on my own channel until they ripped it down because I asked you if I could upload it, and you said yeah. And I got to tell you, I mean, it's a powerful film.
Who ripped it down?
YouTube. They took my whole channel down.
No kidding.
Oh, yeah, dude. They do it all the time. I'm on my 9th channel, so it's all good. I'm used to it by now, Gary.
Yeah, I don't know what I would do if they ripped my channel down. I mean, I've got like 500
But they did recently kind of castrate you, did they not? They took away your ability to upload full-length videos.
Yes, they did, as a matter of fact, because I went and saw Charlie Sheen's The Violent Torpedo of Truth, and I recorded the final poem that he recited at the end, which, I mean, you know what, dude, let me just tell you about this Charlie Sheen show. It was a train wreck to begin with. The guy was incoherent, rambling. He could not stay on topic. He was talking about coke and hookers. I was screaming. They were taking questions from the audience, and I screamed. I said, "Who is Alex Jones?" I wanted to see if I could try to draw him in to something that would become relevant. He's got an audience in front of him, and dude, the guy was just beyond, Yeah,
at this point, I say that the truth movement just needs to hit the eject button on Charlie Sheen.
Yeah.
He's kind of outlived his usefulness. Sorry, I'm not being mean. I know he's
the letter to Obama did it for me.
If you're making us look like asses, it's time to go.
I think that the only good that really came out of that was the fact that Jones went on The View.
Yeah, he was able to culture jam the hell out of The View.
Oh, that was awesome. That was awesome.
And they didn't walk out on him.
Well, no, they didn't walk out on him, but they weren't happy with him either.
No, but they didn't walk out on him like they did, was it John McCain? No,
it was Bill O'Reilly. But again,
Bill O'Reilly, sorry.
That's all staged too half the time.
I know.
Bill O'Reilly's a shill. That's why honestly, I'd rather see Gary doing the news than any of these presenters. I got to say, my favorite part of Gary's show, The Reality Report, is the beginning when he rants. I tell him all the time on Skype. I always tell you your rants. They make me laugh because he gives it the little evil eye. He squints at the camera like he's going to come. You can see the Italian anger in him. He wants to come beat the crap out of you for doing bad things to the Constitution. It's great.
Oh man, dude. You know what? And that's tame. That's tame.
What they've done to due process.
If I really went full out and how I really felt, man, it would just be obscene.
You'd get 1 million hits then.
I really have to hold back. I do.
Well, you control yourself very well, Gary, and you compose yourself very well. I got to give you credit because, like, you confronted scumbag Rumsfeld, and you got threatened by his equally scumbag security guards. And I hope they hear this. Yes, you're all scumbags. That Gary confronted him about the missing billions before that they talked about the day before 9/11, and their response was to threaten to knock Gary's teeth out. All right, guys, we're going to break. We'll be back in a few minutes. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Go to federaljack.com while we're during break. Go educate yourself and make sure you're back here in 3 minutes.
The real reason New York lost their towers. Don't sit back or hesitate to react to the impact. Many take
federaljack.com.
They would fake an attack to make way.
Well, welcome back to the show, guys. I'm Popeye. This is Down the Rabbit Hole. And today I am joined by a roundtable of just awesome individuals. I got my friend and co-host JJink. He's got his own show on the Orion Radio Network, Against the Wall, 3 to 5 on Sundays. I'm joined by my good friend Bob Tuskin, who's got a radio show 5 days a week on Oracle. Bob, what time is your radio show?
8 to 10 p.m. East Coast time.
And I'm also joined by Gary Franchi, the legendary Gary Franchi. He is Gary. I know it's kind of mind blowing for you to hear that, but there's a lot of us that do. We look at you with a lot of respect because you were
put
chosen
yourself out there.
Well, yeah, you put yourself out there, but you were also chosen by Aaron Russo to like carry on his work. And I know that his work was very important to him, and Restore the Republic and this whole fight against the New World Order was very important to Aaron Russo. I myself find it suspect that he suddenly got cancer, deathly ill with cancer, I should say, after he opposed Nick Rockefeller and all that. It could just be.
Say, I had no idea what I was getting involved with. I was running the Lone Lantern Society before Russo's Restore the Republic, and I just had a desire to get people organized, to hold screenings of different documentary films, pass out
That's
DVDs.
the movie that woke me up.
How did he approach you?
Well, I was working behind the scenes with him already. I met him at a screening of Freedom of Fascism in St. Charles, Illinois. I went up, I was like super fanboy, sign my picture, take a picture with me, all that stuff. And I was screaming in the audience, holding a camera, recording all this stuff. And, long story short, he came back through town a couple times, and he specifically asked to meet with me. And there was a mayoral function in Chicago. I couldn't attend. I sent my wife. I showed up later. He asked to meet at his suite at the Sofitel on Michigan Avenue, and we stayed up till 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, me and a couple people, discussing how we would release Freedom to Fascism to the public for free on Google. And, the rest was
Thank
history.
God you did, man.
Yeah, and millions of people saw it. Then Google ripped it down. After we hit about 3 or 4 million views, Google just cut it down just before Ron Paul went into the 2008 election cycle.
What was their excuse for it? Hold on. What was their excuse for that, Gary? What did they tell you?
No, they didn't say anything.
They didn't even respond to you guys. They just ripped it, and that was it.
They just deleted it. They just deleted
very
it
nice.
off YouTube, right off of Google. Yeah,
welcome
it was
to the police state.
So obvious. Yeah, it was so obvious that it was because Ron Paul was about to run that they had all these. That video was super viral, and they just wanted to shut it down. Of course, we re-uploaded it and started all over again. But then, I was just working behind the scenes. He had some issues with the DVD processing and fulfillment on his website, and he knew that I was web savvy, so I went in and cleaned up some of the mess and got some of the orders straightened out and took care of some of the problems. So now here I am. I'm privy to private information of all the people who have seen this movie, who've purchased the movie. So there's an element of trust developed. And then, of course, I was doing my own thing. Russo, go and do your own thing, cool, man. Do Restore the Republic. That's awesome. I got this Lone Lantern gig. I'm trying to grow it. It's my baby, and I'm growing my child here. Kind of thing. And then what happened was there was a vacuum in his national leadership. There was a disagreement between him and another guy about the direction of the film and copyrights and such. So his main guy left. And now Russo was shopping to find someone to replace him. So I would have conversations with Russo, all the time, and my wife and I would call him on his birthday and all these things, and so we had a phone conversation, and he said, Gary, I'm trying to find somebody. I said, well, have you talked to Michael Bednarik? And he said, well, yeah, I've spoken to Michael, and he's not interested. Michael was busy. I said, well, what about Alex Jones? Have you talked to Alex? And he said, well, yeah, I've talked to Alex, but Alex doesn't want to do it. So I'm like, okay, and I now in hindsight, when I can put all the pieces of the puzzle together, all the times that Russo had interacted with me, I think that he really wanted me to take it the whole time. I think he wanted me to step up to the plate the whole time to do it, but I was always not really, I couldn't pick up all the signals, and it wasn't something that I was expecting or just running to do. And so what ended up happening was I said, well, I said, what the hell? I said, I could do it. He said, yeah? And I said, okay, I'll let you know. I'll call you back in 3 days. So I waited for 3 days, and sure enough, I'm looking at my wife, and I'm going, man, I wonder if he's going to call. And he called that night, and he said, it's yours, baby, in his typical Brooklyn, Hollywood, accent. And that's when I stepped up to the plate. And it was just about, I think we were just going into April 15th tax season, so it was really too soon to do any large-scale tax protests that year. I think that was 2007. And come June, his cancer had really gotten to him. And he said, Gary, I need to take a step back, and I'm handing the whole thing to you. So, take the lead. It's yours, baby. Run with it. And then, of course, we got the unfortunate phone call on August 24th of 2007 that Russo had passed away. And it really took us off guard. And, you know, Russo never got to see the fruition of his websites, you know, the actions that we were able to accomplish, the support we were able to provide for the Ron Paul presidential campaign.
I'm sure he can see it now, though, Gary. I'm sure he can see it now, and I'm sure he's proud as hell of you because you've done a phenomenal job stepping up to the plate. I have to honestly say I've seen it grow over the course of the years, and you've done an amazing job. So, I mean, golf clap to you. Everybody should stand up and at least give you a thumbs up for what you do.
Well, we're just doing what we got to do, man. And like I said, you know, it's just what's in my heart. It's what I know it's right, and what I know must be done. And when I like to say whenever I'm out speaking, I say, you know, Russo, you know, I was holding a candle, you know, with the Lone Lantern Society, but Russo came along and poured gasoline all over it. And Russo really,
that's cool.
Like Russo, because with the Lone Lantern Society, it was really just like a microcosm of what I was dreaming of doing. But when Russo came along, he gave me the resources to do what I really wanted to do. We were on the same page with practically every single topic, so it wasn't like I was like some strange guy coming in that had to be re-educated. I was already doing it. It's like, well, that's when I said, well, fine, I'll just turn Lone Lantern, I'll dump all the effort, and I'll put out an email, I'll tell all the Lone Lantern people, hey, we're going to fold into Restore the Republic. That's just what we're going to do. And we just rebranded and redirected, and, you know, this is where we are today. You know, and now we've got a kick-ass 3-letter domain at rtr.org. We're getting, you know, man, the last week, over 500 new members in just several days. I mean, I'm seeing web traffic that I've never seen before. I think we broke another record. We had like 229 people logged into the site with over 650 visitors at one time. It was just explosive. And, you know, and we haven't even gotten into the presidential election cycle yet. You know, we haven't even started to do targeted national mass actions yet. You know, I'm still trying to figure out in my head which direction are we going to start moving into. You know, because we've got all the tools finally in place with the website in a position that we want it to be. Now,
and quite frankly, the numbers are out there. A lot of people are interested.
You've got something like, what, 27,000 members now, Gary?
We just broke 29,000. We're like almost at 30,000 members right now.
I've been a member since 2008.
That's a lot. I know when I signed up, it was down in the low 20s, and that was, you know, when you switched it over to rtr.org. So, you know, it's growing exponentially, and you know, more people need to check films out. Well, people need to check out your films too, because not only do you do the reality report
and
rtr.org, but you have Camp FEMA 2. You have Don't Tread on Me. You know,
another good one.
The 2 Camp FEMA movies, for instance.
I'm the associate producer of a new film that's about to be released with
really?
William Lewis, and it's called The Blood of Patriots. It's a new film, Blood of Patriots. You guys heard it first, and it should be released. I'm not sure exactly when. I just got the rough cut of it, and it looks pretty sick. To say the
Well,
least.
you and William Lewis, you guys are like a dynamic duo when it comes to filmmaking. You guys, honestly, like, and I'm not saying this because Gary is a friend of mine, you know, and I you know, in fairness, you know, Gary's a friend, but I don't.
Right.
I'm not saying this because he's a friend. You got to see Camp FEMA and Camp FEMA 2 because it'll at least show you what's going on. All right, guys, we're going to break. Stay tuned. We'll be back in a few minutes. We're going to go pay the bills. When we come back, we're going to have Gary, Franchi, Bob, Tuskin, myself, and JJink. Welcome back. This is the final segment of Down the Rabbit Hole. I'm your host, Popeye, from federaljack.com. Today is May 1st, 2011, the birthday of the Illuminati, May Day. Just remember that. There's probably going to be a lot of innocent people sacrificed in some satanic ritual tonight to please these psychos. So just keep that in the back of your mind tonight while you're going around doing whatever. Today I'm joined by Bob Tuskin and Gary Franchi. Gentlemen, Bob, say hello.
Hi.
Gary,
hey.
Take a bow.
Hey, how you doing? Hey, what's up?
And gentlemen, first of all, before we get into it, I want to say it's been a pleasure. You guys are always welcome on my show whenever you're both full of information. You're a plethora of knowledge. So I appreciate you guys coming on the show and enlightening my listeners.
Thanks, Popeye.
My pleasure.
Gary, getting back into your movies, I told people in the chat room where they could go check out your movies, but go ahead and tell the listeners where they can get your films.
Well, Camp FEMA is available at campfema.com. You can see both films actually are available there. Camp FEMA 1 and Camp FEMA 2. And if you hit the catalog button at the top of the page, it'll take you to all the other films that we've done. Camp FEMA, we go into the highly controversial topic. Actually, the topic that got me onto the Southern Poverty Law Center's Patriot hit list, Patriot number 9, got me on there with that film.
Is that like client number 9, like Elliot Spitzer? I'm just kidding. Go on.
Yeah. No, it's probably the number. I'm probably somewhere in the roundup list.
Yeah, I was going to say, is that the order of roundup? You're number 9 on the list to get rounded up?
Yeah, roundup Franchi 9th. But that film, we go into the topic of, it just blows my mind that they want to brand me, an enemy of the state because I'm talking about continuity of government programs. Okay, these are programs that have been on the books since the 40s, okay? It's no big secret. We're talking about Rex 84, Garden Plot. We're talking about, programs that the government has in place to preserve their existence, continuity of government, the continuation of government. Okay, it doesn't talk about the continuity of the American people. It's about preserving themselves, and how they will do that, and what reasons they would go ahead and create these types of programs, and what would trigger these programs. So we talk about these very controversial issues in the film Camp FEMA, and then of course we discuss the reality that camps exist across this country to deter or to hold people for specific reasons. Now, what people don't realize is that these camps can be used for any reason at all. It's national security. It's at the president's disclosure. Okay? Now, civil unrest is definitely one of the things we're most concerned with because we're the ones that are actually speaking truth to power. But when it comes to national emergencies like earthquakes and tornadoes and stuff like that, these facilities can be used for helping people too. Okay. We use an example, the biggest and most glaring example that we have that's most heavily documented is the internment camps for the Japanese Americans. Now, the person I interviewed for the film, Sam Ozaki, he didn't refer to them as internment camps. He referred to them as concentration camps. Okay, and he disclosed to me that 12 people died in those camps.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier. Just for simply getting too close to the perimeter fence, they were shot, right?
Yeah, they got too close to the fence, boom, they got killed.
And these weren't like people that they rounded up from Japan. These were American citizens that were rounded up because they were of Japanese descent.
Yes, and here's the thing, is that there were roundup squads that would go and get people, but they went willingly. They just volunteered themselves. They walked right into the lion's den, man.
Yeah, you guys did a great job showing that in the beginning. You show the I guess it's the U.S. Army footage of it or whatever, and you literally show these people just willingly got onto the trains. They packed up their stuff, and they willingly left all their homes and just went into these little one-bedroom like cells almost.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
And there was no rioting. There was no uproar. People they did it because they were told to do it. It was very scary to see that footage.
Yeah, and what most people don't realize, and what came out in the interview with Ozaki, was the fact that before they had the camps established, they were using arenas. They were using state fairgrounds. They were using racing stables and racetracks to house the people while the camps were being constructed. So while people are running through the forest in the United States today looking for the detention centers, what they don't realize is that there's detention centers in their own backyard. When you look at the Superdome, you look at your high school gymnasium, you look at your airports, you look at your
Walmart.
Your Walmart. You know, sometimes the Walmart is the largest facility in a town. Okay? So, well, everyone's out looking for, double-line barbed wire fence, which is of course a characteristic of a traditional camp, or guard towers and these types of things. Most people just pass by the ones that are already there that will be used for temporary holding facilities. And of course, we show the Highland Mall, which FEMA was parked outside, and they were using that in the event of hurricane refugees coming in from Houston, Texas. So, I mean, it's there, and I'm a terrorist, I guess.
Yeah, didn't you guys? You found the Lucent Technologies building, and you actually found people that were housed inside there, and they told you they were locked down at night under armed guard. They weren't allowed to leave. These are American citizens.
The Lucent Technologies building we interviewed James Lane, who is now producing a film about Oklahoma City, and he was the one that brought that to our attention. So, if you, the Lucent Technologies building is in Oklahoma. Also, it's kind of funny because when we released the footage of Lucent Technologies building, someone left a comment or emailed me or something and said, "Oh, I just did a satellite search and I saw a Starbucks and a McDonald's outside the fence." And I said, "Yeah, so what? You don't think internment camp guards need to eat and want coffee?"
We discussed this, that they're going to make the camps look like a shopping mall, that you want to go into the camps because it's better than outside. Look, we have Starbucks, we have Dunkin' Donuts, and people will just line up to go in.
Yeah. And they're going to have live music and all that stuff, right?
These people think 50 years ahead of us, so they know how people are going to react. They say, look, how do you think the Americans are going to react if we try to round them up? Well, this is how they might try to fight back. Okay, well, then we need this in place to, they think of that kind of stuff. And you get people that are, they want to fight you on every little nitpicky detail. Oh, the FEMA camps can't be real. You guys are crazy, because they don't want to admit it to themselves. They don't want to see the evidence. I know you caught a lot of flack, and I know people believe some of the crap that comes out of the ADL. But, and the Southern Poverty Law Center, and that moron Mark Potok. He is a complete enemy of the state. That guy is evil. Anybody. He tries to say if you believe in a gold standard or the right to if you don't believe in abortion, you're a terrorist.
Yeah.
That guy's just crazy. Does that bother you, being on his terror hit list, or is that kind of like a badge of honor to you?
That's a badge of honor for me personally. I think it's I don't think the picture they chose is very flattering, but whatever, dude. I'll brag about it. Hey, I'm on the Southern Poverty watch list, and
Yeah, we made the list this year, Gary, and we got congratulations from most of our, readers. Oh,
that's
and followers.
Right. I'm sorry, I forgot the Intel Hub also made the terror watch list.
Yep.
So, wow. Kudos to both. Wow, I guess that means I'm really in trouble.
Well, now that you're on the show with both of us, you're definitely next. They came to your door with a little knock, I hear.
Yeah, I already got a knock on the door, so I guess that means that I'm going to be on Mark Potok's. Well, in fact, I guess I should be offended if I'm not.
Well, it'll happen, I'm sure. Believe me.
According to them, everybody's a terrorist. If you don't go along, it doesn't matter. If you don't go along with government, you're a terrorist, which is kind of crazy to think about. If you look at history, these people that were disarmed and then they were led, some of these people walked right up to the mass graves, kneeled down and willingly put their head down, and they were allowed themselves to be shot in the back of the head. And I really fear that there's a lot of people in this country that'll do the same.
Well, most people just go willingly. They don't put up a fight.
And I shouldn't say fear, but I feel bad that that's gonna happen, because I know people like you, Gary, that won't happen. But
Well, people, I'm doing everything I can, like I said at the beginning of the show, to fight now in a peaceful and info way. I'm using digital technology and information. I'm using cameras, websites to try to get people organized, activated, and educated for action. Okay, that's what I'm doing. And I'm not going to stop until we're free, man.
Awesome, man. Gary, Bob, thank you guys for coming on the show. I appreciate it. It was an awesome, awesome show today. You guys are welcome back anytime. You both are awesome patriots. Thank you very much for your work. This has been Down the Rabbit Hole. I'm your host, Popeye. Go check out my website, federaljack.com. I'll see you next week.
They killed my entire family, murdered and tortured, raped and pillaged. I was only 5 and I was the only surviving witness. My entire village burned to the ground. He wore a serpent in his crown. Happily committed murder with a frown. And an army of black hooded fiery skull generals and the sorcerer that can cast spells that have changed.